Buckle those chin straps and cue up the Friday Night Lights because high school football is back. And Georgia gave us a blockbuster matchup in week one when number 7 Milton hosts number 20 Buford this Friday. And joining us here to break it all down is Milton head coach Ben Reaves. Coach, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine you're a little bit anxious, man. I know about how crazy Georgia high school football is, followed it for years, covered it for years. But for the people that don't know, just talk about how crazy it is. Give us a picture of how it is locally heading into the big matchup this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always the debate of, what state has the best high school football? Is it California, Texas, Georgia, Florida? And I think one thing that separates Georgia is just the amount of good quality teams and programs that we have. There's just so many top to bottom. And obviously, this year we've condensed down to 6 classifications in Georgia. So every class is loaded. I mean, I truly believe that if you take the top 10 teams in 5A and the top 10 teams in 6A, any of those teams can beat another one on any given night. So just so many good quality teams, and especially in this Atlanta area, you're really playing a big game and in a big time atmosphere almost every Friday night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have introduced you as the defending state champs, right? So I'm sorry. I mean, I got royalty here with me.
Look,
So just
it's
talk
it,
about talk about
it's a
how
it,
that bred a culture. Are you seeing that in the preseason? I mean, obviously you guys are no stranger to winning, but winning a state title is a different level, right? So just talk about what that win did for the culture there.
Yeah, I'm not offended that you didn't introduce me as that, because the truth is that was last year. It's a new year. We're
Right.
0-0. And as of right now, we're just Milton football. We got to go out and rewrite a story this year and prove what we're about this year. And nothing that happened last year matters. And just the culture of winning, man. It was set here years ago when my predecessor, Coach Adam Clatt, came in and just did such a good job of getting the program going in a different direction. And you just look at the history of even the last 6 years. I mean, we've played in 3 state championship games. We're the winningest program in 7A football in the last 6 years. So the culture has been set, and last year's state championship team just continued that excellence that we are about at Milton and that we built, and an excellence that I hope continues.
I like that. Talk that talk, coach. I like that. But the target for your opponents is bigger for the state champs. Oh, they really want you now. So how do you combat that pressure of being the biggest bullseye?
Yeah, it's definitely a different feeling this season. Last season we lost 2 games early on to 2 really good teams, and people kind of wrote us
Right.
off. And all the way up until the state championship game, we
Yeah.
uh, we were the underdog in pretty much every game, and we wore that as a badge of honor. And I knew this season, just returning 18 starters from that state championship team and dropping down a classification, that the bullseye was going to be huge. So one thing that I did is we don't shy away from that. We talk about it. I just went ahead and I took the elephant out of the room. I put a bullseye with our M logo in the middle of it, and I put that on their warm up that they put on every Friday night, just to remind them that you have a bullseye on your chest every single time that you step foot on that field. And just the discussions and talking about it and the constant reminders, it's not something that is going to phase us, not something that's going to sneak up on us. And in reality, one of our goals is to stay in the bullseye, right? Because
Yeah.
if we don't do what we're supposed to do, then we're not the bullseye anymore. We're not the team that everybody's hunting and trying to beat. So we talk about it, we accept it, we face it with everything that we have, and we're going to do everything we can to stay in that bullseye this season.
Indeed, indeed. Now, 18 starters back. One of the biggest starters you have back is Luke Nickel under center. Talk about his impact. And I mean, I know you don't rest as a coach because I'm sure you're a perfectionist, but having Luke Nickel under center, I mean, it might make you breathe just a little bit easier. Talk about his impact on and off the field.
For sure. I mean, Luke's a kid that I watched growing up, and he's a great quarterback. He's in my opinion, the best quarterback in the state of Georgia. And that's no disrespect to the other quarterbacks in the state because there's so many good ones. But the one thing that separates Luke is that he has gone out and won a championship at the highest level. It's not just what he can do at a camp or what he can do in a throwing session, but he's actually gone out and won a championship at the highest level. And that's why I rate him as the top quarterback in the state of Georgia. And so when you have that guy on your team, there is a sense of comfort, especially not only just with his skill set, but just with him being a 3-year starter. He's this senior class, going back to when they were freshmen, they've been a part of 44 out of 45 possible games that you could be a part of. So they're a seasoned group. He's a seasoned quarterback. His older brother, Jack, who is now at UAB, played for me and was a part of the team that won the first state championship here at Milton. So Luke has just been around success, been around Milton for so long that it's what he does at this point. It's what he's about, leads on and off the field. And truly, anytime that he's taken the snap, you're always one play away offensively, and you're never out of a game, especially with all the weapons that he has on his side.
For sure. Talk about the defensive side of the ball. You had some key transfers coming in, some big-time starters back. Talk about where your strengths lie on the defensive end.
Yeah, so defensively, we're returning a lot, and we have several guys that are coming back with a lot of experience. We lost two outside linebackers and a defensive lineman that contributed a lot last year. But other than that, we have everybody back, and just starting with the secondary, 2 corners that are both committed to Tennessee, and Dylan Lewis and Ty Redmond, and Mekhi Jones at safety, who's going to Duke, and Tristan Lester, who's going to have a phenomenal year and really blow up and come out of his shell. But he had a great year for us last year, starting as a sophomore, which isn't easy to do in 7A, and then returning 2 of the top inside backers, probably the top inside tandem in the state, and Hayden Taminia and AJ Benton. And up front, Caleb Bell, Terrence Spencer, who's a 3-year starter, Caleb Ellis. Just a lot of guys that have a lot of experience, but also really good football players. And you'll see some new faces. We like I said, we had some holes that we had to fill, and guys like Lawson Estes and Billy Wyvoda, just anxious to see what they're going to do if they're guys that can come in and plug those holes. Deron Pigram, who is a upcoming senior that a lot of people don't know about, but athletic ability out the roof. So just excited to see not only what those returners do, but what these guys that are fighting for the spots that are open do whenever we play the top team in the state.
Indeed. Now let's talk Buford. Obviously, that's the opponent for Friday night. Looking at a lot of film, what are the concerns? What things do you have to do well? What do you have to take away that they do well? Talk to me about Buford.
Concerns, we'll have to do a completely other episode for that because the list is so long. They're such a solid program. They're well coached.
They are.
There's a reason why they win so many football games. There's a reason why they're the top team in the state. A lot of respect, like I said, for their coaches, a lot of respect for their program and their kids. They work hard. They do things the right way. They don't really make mistakes. And so it's a tough game 1 matchup, because you have to come into game 1 clicking on all cylinders, because they don't make mistakes, right? Their game plans are going to be airtight. Their kids are going to know what to do. Usually game 1, there's a little bit of sloppiness on both sides of the ball. Everybody's getting their feet wet getting into it, but that's not what this game's going to be about. So we've just tried to work hard, not only just to have answers for their schemes and to make sure that we match the intensity that they play with, but just also, be as prepared as we can be and as thorough as we can be, because we know that they're going to be clicking on all cylinders and have answers that most teams don't have until week 7, 8, 9, 10.
Indeed. Now, we talk about bullseyes, we talk about different things like that, but first game momentum, how big is it to start off the season on the right foot, with the momentum of a win? How much of a premium do you put on that? And then how are you implementing that message to your guys?
Yeah, this season is a little bit different. Historically, we've always played a very tough non-region schedule. We've always made sure that the first couple of games, our guys are going to be challenged, and we try to play the top teams in the state and the top teams in the country. And the goal of that is just to make sure that by the time we get into region play and then into the playoffs, that we're clicking on all cylinders, that we know where our holes are, and we've had time to address those holes. So historically, these first couple of games are truly about, exposing us as much as we can. And we know that even if we lose a game early on, which historically we have, both years we've won a state championship, we've lost 2 games early on, but we've turned those losses into lessons and gotten better from them. This year is a different animal. It's we had a rare opportunity present itself to us, starting top 10 nationally, and there's a bigger goal and a bigger dream that could potentially be spoken about if we're able to handle business game 1, game 2, and the rest of the season. So it's a different mindset of, yes, we still know what we want to accomplish here in the state of Georgia, and we know ultimately what matters most, and that's region play in the playoffs. But there's something in front of us that we're going to try to go get, and
Yeah.
continue to be a part of nationally with everything that we got. So this game 1, it is a little more imperative this year that we start out with a win, just to keep those dreams and those national hopes alive. But ultimately, if things don't go our way, we won't have trouble refocusing as a team, because we know what our main goal is, and that's to handle business in the state of Georgia.
Well, we will be all the way dialed in on Friday night. Coach Ben Reaves, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.